Major political and social change is brewing in Egypt. Islamist parties appear to have won a majority of seats in the first round of parliamentary elections. Those results are nearly complete. We expect to get them today, and we expect they will show the Muslim Brotherhood taking about 40% of the seats. Other Islamist parties, notably the very conservative Al-Noor party, poised to take another 20%. So that strong showing could herald a greater role for conservative Islam in Egyptian life. It could also signal shifts in foreign policy, particularly toward Israel. Our foreign affairs analyst, Eric Margolis, is in Egypt. He's in the city of Aswan this morning, the southern city, on the phone. He's in Aswan, but just hours ago, Eric was right in Cairo and in the heart of Tahrir Square. So, Eric, good morning to you, number one.
Good morning to you, Heather, from sunny Aswan.
Well, I'm very glad to have you there on the ground. You can be our eyes and ears there, Eric. I mentioned Tahrir Square, where you were. As you spoke to people there, as you took a look around you, what are some of the things that most struck you?
Well, I was in Tahrir Square all day yesterday. There was a sort of sizzling tension. There were a lot of very intimidating, even scary-looking goons and police people around in the distance, but by and large, it was peaceful. People were in a festive mood, very optimistic mood, friendly. Everyone I talked to in the square, who were mostly younger people, kept saying that they were very positive and they hoped there was going to really be democracy in Egypt. And the most important thing to them was they didn't want any more political parties or any more people telling them what they could or couldn't do.
Okay, we're looking at pictures. You sent us these pictures of you and the people you found there in Tahrir Square, the people about whom you're just speaking to us. So it's interesting that you found it positive, because what we've heard out of Tahrir Square is a lot of these young people have felt robbed of their revolution, that the rule of the military generals, it looks a whole lot like the Mubarak rule. You're suggesting that there is at least some optimism.
Well, there was a boost of optimism from the elections, which went very well in Egypt and were very fairly conducted, no reports of major fraud. The problem is, will the elections lead anywhere? There's concern that the electoral system is so murky now and convoluted that it will not have a decisive outcome in electing two houses of parliament. And even if elected, will those two houses of parliament have any power? Can they tell the military to back out of politics, make important reforms? Egypt is in desperate economic straits. People are demanding higher wages after years of dictatorship. So they're really changing Egypt's foreign policy, as you mentioned, and taking a more pan-Arab approach. Will any of that happen? Nobody knows yet.
So those are some of the outstanding questions. And again, one of the questions is, what is going to be the ultimate makeup of this parliament in terms of which party is represented? When we get the first results, perhaps today, we expect to see the Muslim Brotherhood with very strong showing, maybe 40%, and then followed by this other conservative Islamist party, Al-Noor, maybe with 20%. So, Eric, there is some talk of an alliance, which the Brotherhood is saying no to, but there is some talk out there that would put an Islamist majority in control of this Egyptian parliament. How do you see that, and does it raise any concerns for you?
It's not a great concern for me now. There's no unity at this point between the Al-Noor party, which is really what we would call a Salafist, very hardline religious party, and the Muslim Brotherhood, which in Egyptian terms is regarded as a middle-of-the-road, moderate, sort of old-fashioned, your grandfather's party, in no way militant as it's misportrayed in the West. There are also non-religious groups here, liberal groups, so there'll be a lot of shifting influences here in the parliament, and a lot of infighting yet to come. Nobody is yet sounding radical. There are no visibly anti-Western groups. There are a lot of people who are unhappy with Egypt's dealings with Israel, but nobody's saying death to the Americans or let's burn Washington. In fact, Egyptians want very much just to go back to normal, quiet life. but to get rid of the dictatorship and to push the army, as was done in Turkey from where I just came, back into its barracks.
Eric, thank you very much for the latest from there. We'll be back in touch. Eric Margolis there to observe and write about what he's seeing in the Middle East and live with us from Aswan, Egypt this morning.